Hello everybody. I just had a great idea, and that's scary because I don't have great ideas all that often. But I've done a comparison video between my Taurus PT-92 AFS and my Beretta M9. And in that video, I was talking about what is similar and dissimilar versus these two guns. Well, my great idea today is let's take this one step further and decide that let's do a shooting comparison between these two guns. And that way determine which one performs the best in my hands today. Now, I want to say this right from the beginning, that this is for entertainment purposes only. This is how these guns perform this day in my hands, all right? Now, what you decide to do with this information is strictly up to you, but I'm not endorsing either one of these guns. So the ammo I'm going to be using is some of this Monarch 115 grain full metal jacket. My local Academy in Sports and Outdoors just had a bunch of this stuff come in a few weeks ago, and they ran it on sale, so I was able to grab some at a decent price. Now, I've made these two guns as much like they came out of the factory box as possible. Now, I didn't have to do anything to the M9. It's just like it came out of the box. With the Taurus, I did replace the factory grip panels. You know, I typically run wooden panels on my guns, but these were removed. So I've got the factory polymer panels back on them. And other than that, they're just like they came from the factory. Now, there's one thing I will go ahead and say. I don't have Taurus factory magazines in this gun. Right, I've talked about that in previous videos. These are Metgar magazines. Both of them have Metgar magazines in them. So these guns are basically as close as they can possibly be to the factory original guns. So let me get this stuff packed up, and then we're gonna head off to the range and let's see what happens. All right, so I'm set up. I haven't shot either one of these guns in a long time. So I've taken a few warm-up shots with both of them. Taurus seems to be shooting a bit low. Beretta sight seems to be right on. So I'll have to compensate for the low shooting Taurus. I'm hoping that's the gun and not me, but got the target set up for the first shots, or first round of shots. That's first 15 with the Taurus. No issues with the gun. Trigger is much better than the Taurus PT-92's trigger. And the sight's a lot easier to see, at least for me in this environment it is. The sight also seems to be a lot more accurate than the Taurus is. parts. All right, gonna go back to the Taurus on the right first.
Weird. You gotta pull back. It is a fucking paper castle. Like that. Like a bottom.
And now to the Beretta on the left. All right, being that I struggle so badly with 12, I'm gonna move it out. Starting with the Beretta on the lower right. All right, let's see how we did. Yeah. Nothing to brag about. All right, we're back at 15 yards again. So we're ready to finish this out, and then we'll do our evaluation. this Beretta slide not locking back on the final round. I don't know if that's me or the handgun. Let's find out. That's the handgun. Okay, let's finish up with the Taurus.
This is typically what you gotta shoot them. It's one of those things, man, you shoot guns, it's just only 9 millimeters.
Still low on the Taurus. Much better with the Beretta at distance. Okay, I'm back from the range now. Man, that was a lot of fun. I don't get to go as much as I used to, and every time I do, I'm reminded of how much I really enjoy doing that. But anyway, so because I hadn't shot either one of these guns in a long time, first thing I did when I got there was I put about a magazine and a half through both guns just to get used to the triggers, the sights, you know, that kind of thing, just to refamiliarize myself with each one of these firearms. So anyway, so here's what we got. Doing my first head-to-head. I'm gonna adjust my camera a little bit. All right. So doing my first head-to-head, I was shooting with the Beretta on the left and the Taurus on the right at about 5 yards. Now this is indoor range, so I can't step it off, and the distance markings aren't very accurate. So I'm going by kind of combination of look and feel. So at about 5 yards, I put 15 rounds each through each target, and I went back and I put an additional 10 rounds. This is the Taurus, as you can see, kind of spread out, but nonetheless, I got all of them on the target. The Beretta, much more of a compact impact zone. Had a couple of flyers that got away. And that's interesting because, believe it or not, the Beretta trigger, it's got a lighter trigger than the Taurus trigger. Not by much, but just a little bit lighter. Going back and forth between the two guns, it was a little easier for me to inadvertently break a shot before I was ready to actually fire the gun with the Beretta. The Taurus, I didn't have that problem. All right, so I moved target out to about 8 yards. This is where things start to get a little bit more interesting. Again, with the Beretta here on the left, and the Taurus on the right. As you can see, I still got them all on the target pretty much with the Taurus. Had a couple of 3 got away. Same thing with the Beretta, only 1, but they all are on the target. And like I said, this is about 8 yards. So with these two at this distance, everything looked pretty good. This is the first time I shot this gun in a long time, even though I do have considerably more rounds through this Taurus than I do through my M9. So from that point, I moved the targets out to 12 yards, and to try to keep everything as even, as unbiased as possible, I switched sides. I started shooting the targets, the Taurus on the left side of the target and the Beretta on the right side of the target at about 12 yards. Now this is where the Taurus started to show the same issues with the 92 that I was having with the PT-100 I had. It, for whatever reasons, shoots low, and I don't know why. But I started to adjust my aim point in relationship to my impact point, and this is what I was getting. That's probably me more than it is the gun, so I'm not going to blame it on the gun. I'm just talking about now my experience with it today. When I look at the Beretta M9, I was kind of getting some off the target as well. Not half, maybe about a quarter of them, I guess. Maybe not even that many. But primarily most of them are still on target. And I'm sure all of this is the shooter and not the gun. So I'm not going to elaborate on that too much. And then last, I went out to what I thought was about 15 yards, but it's as best as I could gauge. And as you can see with the Taurus, I was very sporadic with the Taurus, but I was still able to get shots on target. Not too good, not too bad. I was a lot less sporadic with the Beretta, the M9, and I got a lot more shots on target. Now, so what does all this mean? Both these are really good guns. I didn't have any issue with any of them, with either one of them. And between the two of them, I put 300 rounds down range. Now, that's not a large sample size, I'm sure. That's about 150 rounds per gun. But here's a couple of things that I did notice. This is probably shooter error. About a third, maybe half the times, the M9 slide did not lock back on an empty magazine. And I know it's not the magazine because it locks back all the time. I believe the problem may be me riding that magazine release with my natural grip. I don't know if that's the case or not. It could be ammo related. Never experienced it with the Taurus. It always locked back on every empty magazine. Now when it comes down to these two firearms, it was difficult going back and forth between guns that are so similar, because in hand, I can't really tell the difference between the two, especially with these factory grip panels on the Taurus. So it's kind of weird trying to get used to one trigger versus the other. Now, both these guns are empty, so I want to make that clear because I'm going to start to rack the slide in the triggers. The Beretta trigger, both of them have about the same single action or double action trigger. But the Beretta single action trigger is much lighter and much crisper than the Taurus single action trigger. But I'm talking about when you're actually shooting the gun, it feels lighter. Now when I shoot, I tend to ride the trigger out from fully pressed back out to the reset position for the next shot. That was very easy for me to do with the Taurus trigger. With the Beretta trigger, I would, upon occasion, break a shot before I was ready to. And it's because the trigger, while shooting, is a little lighter than the Taurus trigger. The M9 is a little bit of a smoother action than the Taurus. Not by much, but just a little bit. It runs a little smoother. It feels a little better overall than the Taurus does, but not by much. Now, the sights I thought on the M9 are better than these on the Taurus, only because these are stainless, and sometimes, for me, it's a little harder for me to pick up the front sight on a stainless gun. So I enjoy shooting the Beretta sights a little bit better. So from a head-to-head or muzzle-to-muzzle comparison, which one I think's best? I'm gonna still give a slight edge to the M9. It's a little bit more accurate, and it just feels better in operation than the Taurus does. I think both of these guns are reliable and dependable. I don't know how the Taurus would hold up to thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds of use, say in a combat or of law enforcement operation. We know that the M9 is proven to be reliable, so that's not a question. If I didn't have an M9 and this was the only one that I had, which was the Taurus, from my experience with it, I would have it and not be concerned. I can say this also, I think the Beretta M9 is a little bit more refined in fit and finish than the Taurus, but it should be, because it's a gun that costs a couple of $100 more. And I would expect that. But all in all, I think both these are really great guns. Slight advantage, Beretta M9. Well, listen, guys, that's all I got today. I appreciate you watching this. I know it was kind of long, but it was a lot of fun. But until the next time, thanks for watching.